Welcome to Old Testament KJV Bible study. We are working through the book of Genesis right now. We're on chapter 4. Uh, you can join me in a quick word of prayer to Heavenly Father. Thank you for this time together during this Bible study. Please open our minds and hearts so that we may fully understand your word and to apply it in our life. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. Okay, so we are going to look here at chapter 4. We tried to get through this last time on the chapter 3 video, but it was just running a little longer because I don't plan these out really. So it took a little bit of time to get through chapter 3. So we'll try to get through. We'll see if we can do chapter 4 and chapter 5 today. I know chapter 6 is going to have to be its own video, but we'll see if we can get through. I have some notes on chapter 4, so I might be able to get through it a little quicker. And then we'll go on, if we can get through with it, and still, let's say we can stay below, an hour for both of them. We'll do that. All right, so let's go ahead and start reading chapter 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahweh. And she began, and she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Yahweh, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and as much as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah also bare Tubal-cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For Elohim, said she, hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of Yahweh. Okay, so if we get to chapter 5, we'll do the read through when we get there. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at chapter 4 here. Okay, so the first note I have down is, you know, there's a long tradition of the word knew here. Knew his wife. Adam knew Eve, his wife. That relates to, sexual intercourse and mating, and it very well may. When I looked into the word, though, uh, that is, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this a little bit so we can see it a little better. Okay, so that is the Strong's Concordance has the Hebrew number on it, key number on it, 3045, and I just couldn't find anything related to mating or sexual intercourse or anything like that. If we, that's Enoch. Genesis 4:1. If we look up the word new, you can see there, yada is the word, and it says clearly to know, properly to ascertain by seeing, and it mentions a great variety of senses, figuratively, literally, euphemistically, and inferentially, including observation, care, recognition, causatively, instruction, designation. There's a lot of terms there, but none of them that I see. Uh, let's look down here a little bit so it doesn't jump around on us. There's just nothing related to sex in here, and so I don't know where that comes from. It definitely is used. I just wanted to point that out. I'm not saying that that's not, what it means. Everybody seems to be very clear that when Adam knew Eve, that means that they copulated, that they had, sex between man and woman there. and they had Seth. Because it says right here that he knew Eve, and she conceived. But she certainly could conceive. That's obviously what happened because Seth was bored. However, um, and if we look here at conceived, that word is Harah, and it certainly does mean to be pregnant or become pregnant. All right, so there's no question about that. Most likely by context, that's what the word means, yada. But I just showed you that it just doesn't seem to be very clear. It's a little bit obscure. All right, so Adam, they conceived, and she bare Cain, and she says, I have gotten a man from Yahweh. All right, and she again uh, bare his brother Abel. So we know that Cain and Abel are brothers, and it does appear that Cain is the firstborn. So he would have the preference in Jewish tradition, certainly. Right? That's pretty much how that would work, and we can see later on down here uh, where Yahweh makes a note of that when he's talking with Cain. So it states here in chapter 4, verse 2, Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a tiller of the ground. Okay, I did want to point out, I think in the last video I pointed this out, but I'm going to go ahead and just throw this in there real quick. Eve is Havah. Havah, okay, and that's H2332 in the Strong's Hebrew keyword, and that word Eve means life giver. Okay. All right. So I wanted to go ahead and let's see. Yeah, that's in 4:3. Okay. So we have in 4:2, we have Abel and Cain. So Cain sounds like he tills the ground and raises vegetables and fruits and things like that, I guess. Whereas Abel actually raises sheep. Now, so of course, sheep is a blood animal, so it would have that soul that we talked about in. I think we talked about that in briefly in the first in part 1 of Genesis in chapter 1 on the 7 days or the days of creation. I mean, and then also too in chapter 2 in the Garden of Eden talked about it also. How although the plants and fruit and whatnot, it's alive, it doesn't have that blood element. Okay, whereas of course sheep does. Now, if we go here to 4:3, and in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh. Okay, so offering here is the word mincha. That's a key number there, Strong's key number, Hebrew 4503, H4503, means to bestow or tribute a bloodless offering. Obviously, fruit of the ground is not going to have blood in it, okay? Whereas in verse 4:4 we see, in chapter 4, verse 4, Abel also brought the firstlings of his flock, and it says, and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain, to his offering, he had not respect. And Cain was wroth, and his countenance fell, his face his face fell, in other words, his facial expression. Well, let's look at that. In 4:4, I thought that the word fat was interesting there. We have the word, which is Strong's key number 2459. Let me go ahead and just pull that up real quick. I just don't want you to rely on my notes. I want you to see it. Okay. So that word there, all right, maybe this is it. All right. Caleb, okay, with the CH sound. The fat, Caleb, means the richest or the choice part of the um, of the flock. So he not only did he bring a sheep that was a blood offering, okay, that was a blood offering. He brought the fat of the sheep, the best, the richest, the choice part. All right. And so, as it states here, that Yahweh, let me go back and find it. Yes. Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering, there was no blood there. He didn't have respect. I guess we can look and see what respect, how that comes out in the Hebrew. Let's take a look at 4:3. Oh, we can look at it in 4:4. Sha'ah, and a primitive root to gaze at or about, like to, I guess we would call it like admire. You look at something and, to gaze at. By implication, to inspect, consider. That's what it has down. Okay. To regard, have respect. All right, so he did have respect for the blood offering by Abel, but not at all by Cain. Not at all by Cain. So we'll go on here. So then what do we have now? So we have the two brothers. So we do know that according to the text, Yahweh uh, had Eve to conceive. First, she conceived Cain. He would have the elder brother's right. Okay, and uh, Abel. Of course, now he gave this blood offering sacrifice to, or tribute, to Yahweh, and that was respected. We don't know. Well, I guess we can conclude there that in order, that Yahweh appreciates the fact of, or is letting us know in the text, that the blood offerings to him are superior to the non-blood offerings, and that if you have the fat of the offering, the best, the choice offering is better than just something. Okay, so that we know, that we can pick up from the text. That's reasonably inferred from the text. Now let's see what happens here. And Yahweh said unto Cain, when his countenance fell, right? Why art thou wroth? Which, means angry, mad. And why is thy countenance fallen? If you do as well, shall you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin lieth at the door. This is what's interesting. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Now, this is a little, the way it's phrased, and again, I've said this many times, you have the King James translators using early 17th century English to somehow render the meaning for the Hebrew language. So what it has here, it says, if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. If thou doest well, shall you not be accepted? And then if we take the part out where it says, if you doest not well, sin lieth at the door. But let's just look at this for a minute. If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So it sounds like if Cain did a better sacrifice, because the sin, it's in that sentence there, it sounds like sin it sounds like the text says that sin will desire you, but you'll roll over sin as a him. It's got a personal pronoun, a masculine personal pronoun, him, which just doesn't really make any sense, at least in the English it doesn't. So another way that I might take from that is that if you just give a better offering, that he'll be, that it's referring to his, or the him would be Abel. But I know that there's a little bit of a debate about this particular verse here in Genesis 4:7. I'm not going to go look that up right now, but I just was pointing it out that there's a debate over that. Okay, so now here's the one where we have the first murder. All right. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel and slew him. Now, I just wanted to, the word slew is harag. That is, the Strong's number on that is H2026. And what it means is there is to smite with deadly intent. So to hit someone, or trying to kill them. So obviously, we don't know much about what's going on. The time periods here, you have one verse and then the next verse and the next verse, but there's so much time that obviously occurs in those verses. I mean, think about it. We have a verse up here. We have the conception of Cain, and then the conception of Abel in verses 1 and 2 of chapter 4. And then it gives us this phrase here, in the process of time it came to pass. How much time? We have no idea. And we don't know what's happened in the meantime. None of it. All we do know is that at one point, at some point in the future, after they were born, Cain brings a fruit offering, some kind of a fruit tribute to Yahweh. And then we learn that Abel gives his own offering, and it's the firstlings of the flock and the fat thereof, the choice, um, a select sheep. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain he didn't. So that might have been close, somewhat close. We still don't know how old they are. We don't know how many years. If it's years, if it's obviously it's got to be some years, right? They're not going to be infants bringing this offering to Yahweh. But I'm just kind of pointing that out there. We don't really know. But Yahweh said unto Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face fell, your countenance fell? And then we have this, we have the statement about being accepted if he gives a good offering. And it sounds like next time do better. Cain, that's what Yahweh was saying. And Cain, and now here we have another statement. So from verse 7 to verse 8, we don't know how much time transpired. It could be, since Cain was angry, it makes sense that it would be a short period of time, right? Maybe, because he was angry about that. It says, did he lure him out to the field? It says that Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel and slew him, gave him that. He struck him with the intent to kill him. So no, we don't know what they talked about. We don't know any of that. I mean, we could surmise, I guess, that Cain was arguing with Abel, and his resentment level or emotional level got out of control during that discussion, and there was this fatal blow. And we don't know what he hit him with. The tradition holds that he hit him with a rock or something like that, but we don't know that. It just says that he hit him with the intent to kill him. That's what slew means. And he did kill him, obviously. Yeah. And so the Yahweh had said unto Cain, where is Abel, your brother? And he said, I know not. Now, just to let you know, no pun intended, but this word know is the same yada that Adam knew his wife. I'm just pointing it out. Now, Cain here has where's Abel thy brother? That's what Yahweh asked to Cain, and Cain says back, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Now, I mean, that sounds like and what that keeper means there, I did have a note, is it means like guard or protect. That's the word shamar. Let's see, is it right? Yeah, shamar. The code on the key number on that is H8104, to guard or protect. So he answers back to Yahweh, am I supposed to guard my brother or protect him? But let's just point something out here too. It sounds like these are conversations that they have. It doesn't sound like, oh, you're talking to me, or that this is an odd thing. It sounds like this is a conversation that they have. But Yahweh just talks to Cain, uh, just like he would, you know. So it's kind of unusual. I mean, we don't. Uh, well, let's go on. We don't really have an explanation for that. But he does give him this kind of like smart aleck remark, or at least it sounds that way. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I supposed to protect him, guard him? And then Yahweh says, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood crieth up from the ground. And now, this is the result from that. And now art thou cursed from the earth, cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. Okay, so um, Moses is the writer here. That's the general belief, and that also too, it seems to be what Jesus reiterated in the New Testament. So what, this statement here, the earth opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. Okay, so now comes the punishment for Cain. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto you her strength. That's punishment number one. Second thing, a fugitive and a vagabond shall you be in the earth. Okay, so there's like two punishments there. And we can look up those terms on verse 13. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I'm not there yet. 13. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's in 12. Okay, sorry. So there's fugitive, a primitive root, to waver, in a great variety of applications, literally and figuratively. To go up and down, uh, reel, remove, scatter, stagger, be a vagabond. Now, this is probably wander. That's probably, that makes logical sense what it is. He would just wander. He really wouldn't. So that's the idea of, well, actually, it appears that those are synonyms, right? So here you have fugitive, which is Nuwd, to waver. And then you have vagabond, which is Nuwd. Now this says to nod, that is waver, figuratively to wander. And he goes, we'll learn, we read it earlier, that he goes and settles in the land of Nod. It's kind of interesting, I guess. Right? The more I read this, it just seems like there is messages that's above and beyond the narrative from these words. I mean, it just certainly appears that way. And so I was, as I read through it, I seem to get that in my spirit all the time. There's a message here over and above just the narrative. Now, the old Jewish sages will say, of course, there's a message over and above the narrative. Actually, I think they have 3 or 4 levels, in, especially in more of Kabbalistic interpretation. There's many levels, but there's a level that goes. I think they call it the Sod level, SOD, and if we look at this here, so you have the earth opens her mouth and gets the blood. So you have 2 brothers. One deals with sheep that are blood animals. The other one deals with vegetation. that has no blood. The one brother gives the first one. He gives you notice he does the offering first. Then the offering is given of the sheep offering by Abel. Yahweh appreciates the blood offering, even though it was the second one. Cain gets mad. God didn't respect his vegetation offer. And then Cain strikes Abel. And so he's going to be punished. And we saw, so that's I'm just kind of breaking it down again so we could see. And the punishment is henceforth the ground, that's where the blood went, right, of Abel. The blood will not yield unto you her strength. The ground will not yield unto her strength. That's the first punishment. Then he's going to be a fugitive, right? And then he's going to be a vagabond. So technically, I guess you could say there we have those three. And then the kind of strange thing about that is that the vagabond is the word Nuwd. Okay, I want to go ahead and make that a little bigger for us. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this over so we got some more room. The word vagabonds, 412. Okay, so you see there, the word is Nuwd. Okay, but where he goes, we're going to find out here when he leaves, right, that he's going to go settle in Nuwd, which is very similar to Nuwd. I'm just pointing that out. So you'd be a fugitive and a vagabond, and the ground will not yield its strength to you. And Cain says, right? And Cain says unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. You've driven me out this day from the face of the earth. What does that mean? He was I guess, working in the Eden, but not in the garden, obviously. No one's in the garden. Adam and Eve, they messed up and they got banished from the garden. And then there was the cherubim that was set there with the twirling sword to protect the tree of life. So nobody's in the Garden of Eden. But now we have this murder where Cain slays Abel, and it says the way Cain is interpreting this in verse 14 is that you've driven me out this day from the face of the earth. And then Cain says, and from your face shall I be hid. And I shall be so he's kind of stating it back to Yahweh. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And then here's his conclusion. He kind of adds this to the thought, right? And it shall come to pass that everyone that finds me will try to slay me, try to intentionally try to kill me. Now look at what Yahweh does. He doesn't discount that. He says, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, which I guess that means, I mean, it doesn't really help much if they do slay him. He's dead, right? But it says, whoever tries to kill you with the intent to kill you, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh has set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So this mark must be something. We don't know what the mark is. And we can look it up. I mean, we can look up and see what the Hebrew is going to say on it. It may be helpful. It may not be so much, but let's check it out. Okay, let's see here. A mark. That is the word oath, in the sense of appearing, a signal, as a flag, a beacon, a monument, an omen, a sign or token. It appears 79 times in the KJV. So Yahweh puts a mark on him. Yahweh set a mark on him, a sign or a token or something, lest any finding him should kill him. So whatever he puts on Cain is something that'll stop them from trying to kill him. How would they even know this happened? I mean, I don't know. Cain here seems to be really worried about what's going to happen to him. And then Cain leaves also. He went out from the presence of Yahweh and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. So it sounds like we're still in Eden. I mean, somewhat. And then we don't know how much time transpired again. Now we know Cain's got a wife. And she conceives, and she bears Enoch. And he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. So there's a city now called Enoch. Again, we don't know how much time transpired. We know that God made Adam and Eve. Then at some point, only just verses later, Eve has two sons. There's a murder. We don't know how old they were when this murder occurred. And then we know that uh, there's a deal, if you want to call it that, a sentence, a plea bargain with Cain, where Yahweh says, "Don't worry, no one's going to kill you. I'm going to put a mark on you, but you're going to have these punishments. You're going to be a vagabond. You're going to be a fugitive, and um, the ground is never going to give its full reap to you. It's never going to really cooperate with you fully." So then, at some point, I guess Cain leaves. He sets up. I mean, he's in the what is called the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. We don't know about that. And Cain gets a wife, and he knew his wife, which of course, and then says she conceives. So that's will go along contextually with the idea that no really does mean that there's sexual intercourse, there's reproductive intercourse between husband and wife. That does not, like I said, it does not appear in any of the definitions of no or new. In I couldn't really find anything on that, but nevertheless, there's a son Enoch. He built it, okay, and so the city's named after the name of the son Enoch. Now, Enoch's going to be a very important character when we get to chapter 6, but it's not this Enoch. It's a different Enoch that comes off of the line of Seth. So you're going to have two lines now. You have Adam, that's a son of God, and then you have Seth and Cain, and they are sons of man. All right, they're just, the word there is mortal. They're just mortal men. Trying to see if I can find the word for you. Enosh. Enosh, that's what they are. Okay, so Seth, right here, it's in 426, but Seth is Enosh and Cain is Enosh. Either one of them were made by God. Both of them came out of Eve. They were from the product of conception. So now we learn a little bit here about Cain, excuse me. So he has Enoch. He sets up a city called Enoch, and now we have a little bit of a lineage here. Enoch has Jared. Jared has Mehijael. Mehijael has Methusiel, and Methusiel has Lamech. Okay, so now we have this line from Cain, and look at the names there. When we go to chapter 5, actually, we'll go in here real quick. The book of the generations of Adam. Let's just jump ahead here real fast. This gives a lot of dates and everything, but let's look at the line. Seth gives Enos. He gives Canaan. Canaan gives Malahaleel. Malahaleel gives Yered. Yered begat sons and daughters, and then Yered lives, okay, some years. We're going to get through this next time, or this time probably, and begats Enoch. So the order is a little different, but you see how some of the names are just appearing up. This is, is that just a coincidence? I don't think so. There's nothing in this that's a coincidence. It's conveying a message, and we could probably read some old Jewish sage writings and get ideas about that, but we're not going to be doing that during this video. But any of it too would be non-canonical. All right. So the thing is, if we want to stay to canonical writings, then we're kind of really lost here. We don't really know what this means. I mean, yeah, we could draw out a descendancy chart, but so okay. So let's go back real quick here. I didn't mean to give all that opinion, editorializing on it. But I think it's interesting that they're sharing names in these two lines. So here's the line. So he's cursed, he leaves, he goes and resides in Nuwd. And now we have the line down to Lamech. And now suddenly we get at Lamech, we got this little bit of a genealogy. Now Lamech suddenly has two wives, Ada and Zillah. Ada has Jabal, right? He's the father of those that dwell in tents and has cattle. And his brother's Jubal. So you have Jabal and Jubal. He is the father of all such as handle the harp and organ, which is like a musician, right? And then Zillah, she also bears Tubal-cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-cain was Naamah. So just, it makes me wonder here, what are we supposed to do with these names? what does this mean? What's the significance here? I'm sure, like I say, if we were to go back and look at some of the Kabbalistic interpretations of this, you would get quite a different. You get some insight, but you know, wow, it's just a lot to take in. All right, and then suddenly we go from this genealogy, we go to this statement by Lamech. He's got Ada and Zillah, and he says, "Hear my voice, you wives of Lamech, listen unto my speech. I have slain a man." So he did something similar to what Cain did, right? And he even references Cain. "I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold." What does that mean? You know, now we're just sitting here reading it, and we could let it go by. Just, well, it means that I guess Cain had a mark on him, so if somebody tried to slay him, they would get sevenfold the punishment. But now, why should Lamech, if somebody tried to kill him, first of all, he doesn't even have a mark. So this just doesn't seem to make sense at first blush. Certainly not. It doesn't. But then he's saying that if someone is going to be, I'm going to be avenged 77 times. Why would he say that? There's no agreement that there's no plea bargain that he has with God about this. There's no mark that's put on him. So but it's not there by accident, and it's not there just to be confusing. There's some kind of a message, it would seem, that this is trying to convey. And I guess I just have to leave it there, because we don't, other than going and looking up ideas in the Jewish, body of writing. Okay. So we now have Adam knew his wife again, which goes back to the question of the sexual intercourse. Obviously, it must mean that. I mean, and contextually, it does. It's just this word just does not appear to have that in the lexicons that we looked at. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son and called his name Seth. And these names really don't have. I mean, I didn't find any real. If we look at the definitions of the names, uh, there's probably some tradition, but it's not in any of the definitions that we have to work with here. In eSword, in the eSword, I think this is Strong's Concordance, by the way. All right, so it is eSword is the app, but it's connected to the Strong's Concordance, and they don't have anything here down. Strong's doesn't have anything down for the name of Seth or the name of Cain or anything like that. Now, let's look at the wording of Eve, which it doesn't have her name there, it just has she, right? Adam knew his wife again, and she bare him a son, called his name Seth. For God hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. So now we do have this idea. Remember the curse, if you will, on the serpent? It said, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and her seed will crush your head, and your seed will crush his heel." Well, now we have here the mention of seed again. Hey, Eve's comment, I guess you'd say, "For God," said she, okay, so this is her comment, "hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel." And so if we look up seed in 425, we get the word zerah, figuratively fruit, plant, sowing time, posterity. Okay. Had appointed me another seed instead of Abel, who Cain slew. Now, I am going to pull an article about this verse here. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. I'm going to pull up this, well, I have this article here. I'm going to pull it up and I'll maximize it so you can read it. This is this guy here, Douglas Hamp. He's actually, I've attended his church before. He's a pastor, or I guess you'd call it like a pastor, or they call him a teacher at the Way congregation here in Denver, Colorado. And he wrote this article. I've attended their congregational hall there before, a couple times really. He's a big, tall guy, but really interesting fellow. So let's look at his article real quick here. Genesis 4:26. Now, again, what did it say? It said that then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. Now, let's look what Hamp writes about on this. I'm sorry. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. Then men began to call on the name of the Lord. All right. In the fact that the first profaning of the name Yahweh would come in the days of Seth, when Adam was 130 years, and would lead to the days of Noah and eventually the flood. Okay, so I'm going to try to read through this here. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth. Okay, so he says only 7 times in the Bible. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. Then, and it has men began to call on the name of the Lord. And it has down Hukal, Likro, Basham, Yahweh. All right. The word men is crossed out because it does not appear in the Hebrew text. If you look in your Bible, you may see that it is italicized. The translators are supplying the word men in order for it to make sense. All right. The text in question says, "Az hukal likro b'shem yudhevavhe," Yahweh. The word hukal is passive from the root to profane, defile, pollute, desecrate. According to, he's got B-O-B here. I'm not so sure what B-O-B means. I'm sorry. To begin is a valid definition. However, so are profane, defile, pollute, and desecrate. Now, if we go back real quick, he's got a point. If we go back here, so that would be this men is an included word. But if we look at it began, okay, to call. Let's look up this here real quick. Began, a primitive root. Look here, it says to bore, to wound, to dissolve. And farther down, it has pollute, profane, prostitute, slain, stain, wound. So, but let's go through here again and just kind of look at the rest of his article. I thought it was pretty interesting. Because now, The idea is here, because it almost sounds like this is a good thing. Well, men are calling on the name of the Lord. They're calling on Yahweh. But let's see here. Um, consider now this is his point. Consider some English sentences to understand the implications. The man read the book. Standard English sentence, subject, verb, object. The book was read. Well, that's a passive sentence, of course, yeah. The subject receives the action of the verb. The reading of the book was interrupted. In the third sentence, the passive verb was interrupted. What then is the subject? Reading, right? The reading of the book must be the subject, yes? Okay. And it was interrupted is the predicate. The Hebrew phrase in question is analogous to sentence number 3. The subject is likra b'shem yudhevavhe, calling on the name of yudhevavhe. Should yukal be translated as was begun or was profaned? Did men begin calling on the name of Yahweh, or was calling on the name of Yahweh profaned? Now we have here a reference to Targum Onkelos. This is something that's many times read in Orthodox synagogues, or in synagogues, I guess I should say. One of the Targums, ancient Aramaic translations of the Hebrew Bible, translates the word, then in his days sons of men desisted or forbore from praying in the name of the Lord. According to that ancient witness, that's the Targum Onkelos, by the days of Seth, mankind was not having a revival and coming back to the true God. Rather, things had gone from perfection to bad to worse. God and man are in perfect harmony, then down a notch. Adam blew it, then down another. Cain commits the first murder, then down again, and calling on the name of Yahweh profaned. Then things would get even worse. Then we're going to be talking about this in Genesis 6. Then the fallen angels would have relations with the daughters of Adam. Something so bad that God would destroy the world. Now let's look here. He refers to, okay, so this is the BDB, Brown Driver Briggs commentary, lexicon. The Hebrew English lexicon provides the following definition: to profane, defile, pollute, desecrate, begin. Okay? So begin calling on the name of the Lord. Um, so he's saying it needs to be one of these other verbs: profane, defile, pollute, desecrate, as opposed to begin. The BDB then gives the various forms of how the root is used in each of the verbal paradigms. It means to profane oneself, defile oneself, pollute oneself, or to be polluted. I'm going to skip on down. The hifil theme of the verb is only, it's kind of technical on the Hebrew, so I'm sorry, but I'm trying to just read through it. You know, Doug Hamp is obviously got background in this, I guess. I will not let my holy name be profaned anymore. Now that's out of Ezekiel 39:7. That's the only other time it's used. And of the need of man not to break his word. KJV it says violate, when it was a vow or pledge involving the Lord's name. Okay. Interesting. But the reason that makes sense is because this interpretation seems like things are getting better, but it actually is going downhill, because we're going to try to do 5, because I don't want to have this thing draw on forever and ever. These are the book of generations of Adam. Okay, so this is mainly just the genealogy, this chapter, but it will introduce us to a couple of important names. I'm going to give me just a second here. I'm going to make another topic for my little notes. Genesis, 5. Okay, so I can have a clean note here. And this is a genealogy. So I'm just going to kind of keep track as we go, that's all. All right, so we have, these are the generations of Adam. You remember before when we did, I think it was chapter 2. It said that it's the generations of the earth and the heavens. Remember that? If you looked at that video, if you haven't, go back and check it out. I think it's chapter 2, which sounded kind of odd because you think generations are for people, but now this is from people. Now remember, Adam's a son of God. Adam was created from the dust. Nobody else was created from the dust, not even Eve. Adam was the only one that's in the canonical Bible. All right, so we have Adam. And look how it says, in the day that God created Adam. That's actually, if we look up that Adam there, or man, I think we're going to see Adam, right? Adam. There it is. Adam. Ruddy. That is a human being. But it's not the same as Eosh. Okay, so in that day God created man in the likeness of God. Now, notice something else too. This does not say anything about Yahweh. It just says Elohim. Notice that? Before we were dealing with Elohim, or Yahweh. There's this chapter 4. If we go back to chapter 2, let's see. We have Yahweh planted the garden. Yahweh Elohim. Okay. Yahweh Elohim. We also find the same thing. Let's see. Well, no. In chapter 1, we don't see the Yahweh. We just see God, Elohim. So now here in chapter 5, it's picking up that same pattern where we just see Elohim. We don't see Yahweh. What's the significance of that? I don't know. We're just doing the Bible study. I'm pointing it out to you, since I have it on my screen. I'm seeing it as you're seeing it. But I can't tell you all the consequences from it. But so in the day that Elohim created man. So here we get the clear statement, Elohim is creating man in the likeness of Elohim. He made he him. Male and female created he them. So now we have definitely a he here. There's a he, and we have Elohim, which is plural. Just pointing it out. So he created he them and blessed them. Remember, that's the kneeling. We have like the kneeling. If we look at blessed, That's one of the definitions, is kneeling, is giving honor to. And called their name Adam. Okay, I'm just going to make a note here. Male and female. All right. So now we're way over in Genesis 5 here. Now it's a generational chain, a little bit different than 1 and 2. And in chapter 3 we had the fall, with the temptation by the serpent. And then in 4, we have the issue with Cain. But now here we have the generation. So now we hear this. We hear that Elohim created the male and the female. He blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So now, when were they created? Well, if we go back to chapter 2, it's on the 6th day. We can see here, this is where it's interesting, okay? So we have Yahweh Elohim. It is not good that the man, okay, well, let's go back a little bit farther. Now we're in chapter 2. Okay. A little bit before here, we're dealing with, here we go. Chapter 2, verse 7. Yahweh Elohim formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. That is Yahweh Elohim, Lord God. He plants the garden in the east and eastward in Eden, and there he puts the man. Okay? Then there's the talk about the rivers. And it says, Yahweh Elohim took the man, put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. That was like his job, take care of the garden, right? Remember, Cain says to God, am I my brother's keeper to guard it? Okay. But then it says, Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, okay, not to eat from he tells him you can eat from all the other trees, but not the tree of knowledge. And then he says this is Yahweh Elohim. It's not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helpmeet. And out of the ground, so now out of the ground, just like how he made Adam, the man, how he made the man, he's going to make every beast of the field. And he lets Adam call what he made. The man's allowed to call him whatever he wants. And the man gives names to all the cattle, fowl of the air, and so forth. And then it says, Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep, like a trance, right, to fall upon the man. And he slept. He took one of his ribs, closed it up, and he made a woman. Who made the woman? Yahweh Elohim. Now, now we have the day that he made them. We have that here. So now if we go back to chapter 5 again, where we're doing the genealogy, it says the man and the female, Elohim created them. Do you see that tension there? I'm not going to call it a contradiction. It's a tension. We have Elohim, and then we have Yahweh Elohim. All right, just pointing it out. Male and female created he, them. We do not have the Yahweh there, but we do have Elohim, which is a plural noun. Okay, so Elohim created, and then Elohim blessed, and he called their name Adam in the day in which they were created. Now, it says here Adam lived 130 years, and that's when Seth was born. Um, so you have Seth, and it says here now, Seth was not created from the dust of the earth. No, he was born. But it says that he begat a son in his own likeness after his image. Remember, that's what, if we go back to chapter 2 again, actually, chapter 1, where you have on the sixth day. Now, here you just have Elohim. There is no Yahweh here, just the Elohim. Okay. Makes the beast of the field. Let us, now here you have Elohim, no Yahweh. Chapter 1. Let us make man in our image and after our likeness. That's the same thing that's stated here for Seth in chapter 5. And the days of Adam after he had begotten. Okay, now a little bit further, a little bit up here on chapter 5, verse 3. He lived 130 years and he begat a son. So the idea of begat is the idea that is something physical, right? Not making from. He didn't make him. He he had him biologically. But look what it says. He begat a son in his own likeness and after his image. What does that mean? All right, so I'm just going to put likeness and image here for a minute as we go along. Just bear with me. We're studying together. And the day now I'm going to put in timestamps. If you got to go, if you can't stay for the whole video, you can always note where you left off on the timestamp. And as soon as I get the video uploaded, it'll have the timestamps with it. And the days of Adam after he begat Seth were 800 years. Okay, so I'm going to put out here 800 more. So this here, well, I'm just going to put down here 930 years. That's how long Adam lived. Okay, total. And then, and the days of Adam after he begotten Seth were 800 years. So now we have a total of 930 years. So that's how long Adam lived. But remember, Adam was the name for both of them. But it looks like here that we're dealing with the fatherly lineage, not Eve. We have 930 years, and he died. So he did die. Okay, remember it says that on the day you eat, you will surely die. Okay, there's some talk about the 930 being that a day is like 1,000 years to the Lord. That comes from 2 Peter, I believe. A day as in 1,000 years to the Lord. A day to the Lord is just 1,000 years to man. In other words, 1,000 years are like a day. Yeah. So Adam surely did die within 1,000 years, I guess is the point there. Seth lived after he begat. Okay, so Seth then lived 105 and begat Enos. Okay, so you now have Seth and 105 years, and you have Enos. It doesn't say anything about, and we do have this, just to kind of be clear. It says here Adam had begat sons and daughters. We have no idea how many. We have no idea how many. But apparently there's definitely sons and daughters. So Seth was there 105 years and he begat Enos. And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years. So if we come back here and put in 807 years, we have, what is that? Oh, the total there is what, 912 years? And then Seth died, right? And sure enough, there's 912 years, okay? Enos lived 90 years. See how it's kind of going down? Enosh. Now, Enosh, it says Enos there, but Enosh, I'm going to see if I can, if this is going to show me this. 910, or 510, excuse me. Enosh, yes. Okay, well, maybe I didn't. Okay, so it's 510. So we have Enosh. Enos lived 90 years and had Canaan. And after he begat Canaan, he lived 815 years. So there is a total of, what is that? It's 905 years, right? And then Enos died. Yep. And so far we're tracking along fine. Canaan lived 70 years and begat Mahalaleel. Mahalaleel. Oh boy. Take one of these out up here. Okay, so we have Enos. Canaan lived 70. And gave birth to, I'm going to just put Maha. And then he lived 905. Let's see. Wait a minute. Canaan lived 70 years and had Maha. And then after that, he lived 840 years. Oops. 840, which is 910, which actually is an increase. Notice that? Let's see if I'm doing my math right. 910, yep, 910. So that goes up. So it's going down, 930 to 912 to 9. So Adam lives for 930, Seth lives for 912, Enos lives for 905. Canaan goes back up to 910. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. 65 years and begat Jared. And then after he lived 830 years and died. Well, no, actually. So now that's 895 years. And then Maha dies. So that's gone back down some more. And then Jared lives 62 years. Okay, and then we have Enoch. So I wanted to reach this definitely because, so he lives 162, excuse me. And then he begats Enoch. Now, this is going to be something important for chapter 6. I know we're going through this genealogy. It's not too exciting, but it is important. So he begat Enoch. Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years. Okay, it's the first even number we really have. So now we have 962, and then Jared dies. And notice now we've gone back up. We were going down 930 to 912, 905, then 910 a little bit, then 805. Now we've gone up older still, 962. All the days of Jared's life were 962 years. And Enoch lived 65 years. Okay, now this is the part that, so we're dealing with Enoch, and we're going to come in on Noah for a minute, in a minute. So he lived, Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah. Okay, let's see. Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. I'm just going to make it Meth, all right? And Enoch walked with God. Let's see what it says here completely. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years. So now he did not. Let's look at the math here. So that's 365, which there's 365 days in a year. Okay, I'm just pointing it out. Walked with God. All right, Elohim. We are not dealing with, it doesn't say anything about Yahweh in here. Just something to point out. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, and God took him. So I'm just going to put a little asterisk here. All right, so now we have Enoch. We have Methuselah from Enoch. Now, it doesn't say anything either about, let me see. Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. Okay. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. He walked with God, and God took him. Now, okay, let's take a look. We got to look up the word took, right? Got to. That's 524. Lakah, let's see. Lakah, to take, accept, bring, buy, carry away. 966 times in the KJV. All right. He carried him away. And then let's go on. Methuselah lived, and Methuselah's like the oldest living man that's in this genealogy. I think in the Bible, period. Methuselah lived 187 years. And, excuse me. Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. I remember Lamech was also the name of, if we go back up to 4, well, it's not Lamech, it's Lamech. Oh, no, it's Lamech. Okay, I stand corrected. Same name. You see how this is, it seems like it's more than meets the eye? I'm just telling you, it just certainly seems that way. Okay, let's get back into the genealogy here. We're almost done with this. It's meat. This is meat. It's just you have to struggle through it. But it's I know I read part of the book of Enoch one time, and it was on the luminaries. Oh, but you get through it. It's a lot. There's a lot to it. But you can go look. Enoch is on the New Testament KJV channel at New Testament KJV. You can go there and you can read all 5 books of Enoch. It's very, very interesting. Not canonical. It's in the extra canonical playlist, actually. Lamech lived 182 years. Wait a minute, we missed something. Methuselah lived 187 years. We kind of left out Methuselah here. 187 years and begat Lamech. There we go. After he begat Lamech, he lived 782 years. Oop. What was that? 782 years. And if we take 782, should be 969, yeah. All right, and then Methuselah died. So we have Methuselah now. He does die, 969 years, and Lamech lived 182 years. And begat a son. Now this is suddenly we have a different. We have a different. See how you just have that is coming down. You don't have. You have. Let's see. You have begat, sons and daughters. First of all, it's begat and then the son. Then it's lived so long and then begat sons and daughters, and then later on it says die. It says that for all of them. Now look how it's different here. In all the days of Lamech were 700. Okay, excuse me. And Lamech Okay, so let's see. This is different with Lamech. Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son. It does not say begat the son's name like it says for all these others. Okay, it says here begat Lamech, and that's what it says for all of them. It says that he begat, but here it doesn't say that. With Lamech, it says he begat a son. Let's look that up. I don't know if I'm just going to look it up. 528. Begat a son. Bane, Paneh. Now let's look. So we don't see any of that. You see? You do not see that name, Paneh, until you reach Noah. I think that's very interesting. Okay? You do not have that word, Paneh, that a son. There is the phrase Paneh, like Elohim, the sons of God. You don't have this. Now you do have begat, but you have it here different. Okay, so he begat a son. I'm just going to put here a son. And then they called his name Noah. Now here's what's different. You got all these names. We didn't check to see what all the names meant. Like if we look up Lamech, let's see, it's 528. What's the dad's name mean if we see anything? I don't want to get there yet. That's 29. Lamech, from an unused root of uncertain meaning. It's just a name. Okay, so we don't have anything specific on that. Methuselah, yeah, we don't have anything specific on that. But look at Noah. All right, on Noah, we got to go down to the bottom again. He called his name Noah. Now let's look up Noah 529 for a minute. There's more than meets the eye here. Noah, it means rest. Nuwd, rest or quiet. How many times in the Bible? In the KJV, once. Now Noah actually appears 46 times, but it's based on the root though. Nuwd is only in there one time. I mean, this sounds like, not only does the narrative sound like it's giving off a message, this seems like a code. Now, many of the ancient Jewish sages, they do gematria on this, where they calculate numbers with the letters and they get different kinds of meanings. And I haven't really researched that, and that's probably beyond the scope of this whole study, and maybe even beyond the scope of the channel, because we're not really getting into Kabbalah with this. But and that would sort of fall into that Baoic sort of. But they do a lot of the ancient sages do. Some of them do believe in the gematria, the Hebrew gematria. There's Greek gematria and then there's Hebrew gematria. Okay, so we have Noah, and I'm just going to put down here rest. And Lamech, they called his name Noah, saying, this same Noah shall comfort us concerning our. Now you notice rest is the same name for what? Sabbath. What did God do on the seventh day? He rested. Didn't work, but he rested. Okay. Does this sound like it's just all coincidental? I don't think so. There's a message here. We're not have the time, to go through that, but there's definitely a message. All right, so he read, the same shall comfort us, and he called his name Noah, saying. So this is Lamech apparently talking, right? Called his name Noah, saying, this same son, right, shall comfort us, concerning our work and toil of our hands. Now here we suddenly have, out of nowhere, bam, Yahweh again, because of the ground which Yahweh cursed. Shall comfort us our work, shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh had cursed. When did Yahweh curse the ground? That was in Genesis 3. Okay. If you look back, you see we have Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Elohim. Okay, Yahweh Elohim. It says, for your sake, the ground is cursed. I just want to take you back so you can see it with your own two eyes. It's quite amazing. When he gets down to Adam, and this is Yahweh Elohim talking. I don't want you to lose track of that. Okay, this is Yahweh Elohim talking to the serpent, and then to the woman, and then finally to Adam, man. He says, thou shalt not eat of it. What's the it? Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying thou shalt not eat of it, cursed the ground for your sake. And this is Yahweh Elohim that's doing this. Now in chapter 5, you'll see down here, we just got finished reading it, but I'm trying to tie it all together. This Noah, okay, Noach, that means rest, shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh hath cursed. Okay? And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years. Now, if you read through the book of Enoch, you'd be amazed. It says that Lamech was so worried about his son that he had to go ask his grandfather about it. And Enoch told him because he was worried that No, this is according to the book of Enoch now, okay? Non-canonical. We're outside the Bible from it. I'm just telling you what the book says. That Lamech was worried, didn't know if this was even a real son, a real man, okay? Because uh, and he was instructed, yes, he's there, and he's going to give us rest. And then the angels went and told Noah about this, what he was to do. And we're going to find out in a minute. Well, not in a minute. We won't find out now because it'll be in the next video about this. And when we reach Genesis 6, I'll go into a little bit more detail. And it'll make sense. It wouldn't make sense if it would be a long story and it's just not enough time for it now. But Lamech lived 905 years, or excuse me, that's a long time, 595 years, which that's a total of let's see. Oh, yeah. Here's another one for you. 3 sevens. 777. How about that? Think that's coincidental, or is that getting a message across? I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but I've done it a few times. I'm amazed every time I see it, especially now that I know more about the story of the book of Enoch, the 5 books of Enoch. Even though those books are extra canonical, I'm telling you, they have there's something being said here. And all the days of Lamech were 777, and he died. Look at the years, okay? So the years are going, they go, let's just look real fast. 930 years for Adam, 912 years for Seth, 905 years for Enos, 910 for Canaan, Mahalalel, 895. Then you have Jared all the way back up to 962, longer than all of them before him. And then you have Enoch, and Enoch is taken away at 365 years. But we still have him with sons and daughters. And then Lamech, Enoch gives birth to Methuselah, the oldest man that's listed from all of them. Methuselah lives to 969, but he also gives birth or begats Lamech at 187. And then at 182, there's Noah, a son. They named him Noah, which means rest. And he's supposedly going to deal with this curse of the ground that was all the way back to Adam. And it's going to be the flood. But there's a lot more to it when we hit next chapter. And Noah, let's see. And Noah was 500 years old. Okay, now look at that. So Noah was 500 years old when he begat, and it gives all 3 of these: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And it doesn't say anything else about them. And then suddenly we go into chapter 6. I'm not going to do chapter 6 now, obviously. Okay, this is very interesting. I think it's interesting. I'll have this available next time when we do our video on chapter 6. Join me in a short prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this rich Bible study. Your word is wonderful, Lord. Thank you for this time together. Please, we bless you as you bless us, Father. In Jesus' name we do pray. Okay, Please come back. I know this was kind of drawn out, maybe, and boring for some of you, but not for me. I'm kind of geeky about this, though. But we'll see you next time on Old Testament KJV Bible study.